Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Emily. We're three life coaches who found connection in faith, friendship, and purpose.
Get ready for real talk, relatable stories, and practical tips you can actually use.
We're so happy you're here at the Life Coach Lounge. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the lounge. How are you today?
Doing great. The sun is shining where I am, and that always makes for a good day.
How are you today, Angela?
I'm great. The sun is also shining here, and I am here for it. Finally, in Michigan, we are getting some sun. It feels so good. It makes all the difference.
I am always like a day behind you ladies when it comes to the weather, so I can't be more excited that sun might be coming my way because it has been raining without exaggeration for, I think today's the 5th straight day. And
Oh, bummer.
I
It's
am
not
over
fun.
it. So I'll be excited if sunshine shows up on my doorstep tomorrow. So welcome back to the lounge, everyone. Today you are in for a real treat. We're so glad that you are here with us today, and we're going to just rip the Band-Aid right off. And the three of us, as you all know, have so many conversations on the daily in the Marcos. And one of the topics of conversation this week has been on letting go of expectations of others when we show up in life to relationships and circumstances that mean the most to us. How do we show up? Do we show up with a long list of expectations, like a written agenda or a manual that we're going to probably not share with the other person? Or are we showing up a little differently? But before we dive into that a little deeper today, I always like to I think it's fun when we start the show with just a quick question or a fun, what do you think about this? So I have two questions you can choose from today. One is on topic and one is a little more just random. So the first question, you choose which you want to answer. If your life manual was an actual book, what would the title be? The second question is, if you could instantly download one skill into your brain, Matrix style, what would you choose?
That's an easy one for me. I want to be bilingual or trilingual.
Nice.
Yes. I don't want to go through the education process to learn a language. I just want it in my brain and then travel.
I love that answer.
That's a great answer, Angela.
And
I think
wish I
that
could
the
make
ones
that happen for you.
I know, me too.
right? And for all of us, if you find a way, let us know. We would be next in line. For me, I think it would be speed reading, but also comprehending what I read, like just being able to store it and regurgitate it. Like I have a whole bookshelf full of books that I desire to read and want to learn from and really want to take in. That requires time. And I only have so much free time to be able to digest those books. So yeah, what would that be like learning by osmosis? If I could just touch a book and have it like upload, be like, now I have all this information. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
It's called AI.
I'll take the other question then. If my life manual was an actual book, what would the title be? So this is a quote unquote life manual that I've been working on editing. The name of the book, though, would be That's What Mama Said.
Nice.
Because I think it could go one of two ways. It could be how I showed up 5 years ago as mama and how I am continuing to grow as a woman in my motherhood and being a wife and being Lisa. So what mama might have said 5 years ago or even 20 years ago, mama might not say today. So That's What Mama Said would be the name of my book.
I love it.
I think that should be a future project for you, Lisa. I would love to hear all of your insights. Sounds like maybe a memoir style of a book
Ooh,
and a to be continued. What has Lisa learned along the way? So just putting that out there, I would read it.
I love your suggestions, Emily. You I know that you have said before that one of the things you're working on and want to just be more mindful of is listening. And I think that you are amazing at it because you listen so intently, especially to just mine and Angela's random repertoire in the Marcos. And then you'll come back with something, and I won't speak for Angela, but sometimes I'm like, wow, she got that out of what we were saying. Like it's just like a little, I don't know. It's a gift. You have a gift there to
Aw,
see
you're
something
so
that
sweet.
I need a constant nudge to see.
I love being both of you. I love being your cheerleaders because I just love what you're doing and how you're growing and the amazing things you're doing. So I'm here for it, cheering you on.
All right, so let's talk a little bit, like we have in the Marcos this week, about what it looks like, what it can look like, what it has looked like. Maybe let's back up a little bit. Like, what does it mean to the two of you when I said the title of today's podcast had something to do with letting go of the expectations when you show up to relationships in your life? What does that mean to you, Angela?
What does it mean to let go of expectations? Well, first and foremost, everyone does it. There's no one is exempt from it. We all have ideas of how things should go and how people should behave and what they should say and not say. And so this is something everyone does. The part that where coaching comes in is understanding that those expectations that we have and hold people to do not decide how we feel. Our thoughts decide how we feel. So that's where you can show people that their expectations are actually what is causing their pain and my
Right.
pain.
Sometimes we
I do
show
it.
up and we've created these expectations. I think sometimes you're right, Angela. We all have them. And I think sometimes not only do we have them for others, but we also have them for ourselves.
True.
So I think that more often than not, much like our thoughts, we've talked about, like we have, I don't know, some ridiculous thousands amount of thoughts a day. Most of them are not even a conscious thought. Most of them are also not positive. So when it comes to these expectations, I believe they're also not something we're consciously thinking of when we're having a conversation with someone or showing up to a birthday party or something that we're excited to be there for, but we've created them and then we just kind of carry them with us. Because you're right, Angela's so right. Don't kid yourself if you think you don't have them. We all do.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, Lisa, because before I dove into coaching and started learning about all the concepts, I wasn't fully aware that I had so many thoughts and expectations about other people, especially those close to me, those in my immediate family. And over time, it creates so much bitterness and resentment because I'm not actually saying those things out loud because maybe I don't want to hurt their feelings, or I think they should just be able to read my mind. Or if I
Yes.
huff and puff across the kitchen and there's dirty dishes in the sink, I just think everybody should realize, oh, mom's probably upset because she's the one that's always doing the dishes and there's a ton of them to do and we're sitting here doing nothing. Right? Like I have this whole big conversation in my own mind about what I think they should be doing and how they should be showing up without actually even asking them, hey, would you guys mind helping out with the dishes tonight? So until you're aware that you have all of these thoughts and expectations for others, it can, like I said, just create so much bitterness and resentment towards them. And then they're like, why are you cranky all the time? Like, it's just this vicious cycle that I'm so glad I'm aware of. But you also touched on something else, that we have expectations for ourselves also. So now that I know this through coaching, that I have a manual, a set of rules, a way of being that I think everybody else should be following just to make my life easier. I have sometimes used that against myself. Like, oh, well, I just have a manual for him. That's just my expectation of him. I just need to let that go. So I will then internalize that to mean I'm doing something. And so it's just, again, this vicious cycle when if I would just take a step back, maybe even have a conversation with the person that I have all these expectations about in a calm way, not emotionally charged, oftentimes it could just clear the air and we have a way more peaceful life.
Here's something I wrote down months and months ago. In one of the many times we were going through coach certification and being coached by each other or one of the master coaches in there. So this has stuck with me for a long time. Expectations are premeditated resentment.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Something
that
not
can
good,
be
but
toward
a good
ourselves
way to.
too. Yeah, the shoulds.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's sometimes we need, I know I do personally, we need, in order for us to grow. So here's the thing, the best gift we can give to these relationships is the work and the love that we're doing for ourselves, right? Like they say, like in a business, like if you're going to, like you yourself have to grow in order to grow your fill in the blank, your business, your program, your whatever. I feel that that's so true in relationships too. Like it's the inner work that you do and then show up to these relationships to allow not just the pouring into the relationship, but for that person to be fully seen. Because again, we all show up with expectations and we all have this thing called an ego, and that ego likes to be stroked and validated. So as human beings, we thrive on connection. And so the best way to show up and have that connection with someone else is to show up as your true self. And that is not typically how it's done. We don't show up that way. That unfortunately requires the work. It's easier for us to show up with the laundry list of, why aren't you helping me with the dishes? You are watching me do all the work here right in front of you. Could you not lend a hand? No? Okay. Now I'm going to feel all these things that just in turn make me feel what? Worse.
And they're not having that experience. We could
No.
have that whole bit of drama just in our own brain and body, never say anything, and them just think we're in a mood, right? Like we can have that whole experience. So we're the ones creating that whole mental drama and emotional dysregulation in ourselves, all because we're so worried about focusing on what we think they should be doing instead of taking responsibility for what we need in that moment. If we need help, then we ask for help. It's not rocket science. And yet, like you said, it takes effort for us to show up as our true selves. That doesn't happen overnight. Like that takes work and effort and time. And it starts with us.
And I'm going to probably state the obvious here in the lounge. I'm also going to make an assumption that a lot of people listening to this episode might be moms. So raise your hand out there if it's easy for you to ask for help. I mean, either of you, that takes effort for me. I'll do it myself.
Yes, 100%. It's hard for us. And not only just to ask for the help, but to ask for it in a gentle, like non-dramatic way, right? Like before we get frazzled.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good segue into tell me a couple manuals, quote unquote, air quotes, that you may have written either in motherhood or in your marriage or even as a child. Like, give me a couple names of a manual because we have different ones. It's not one and done. So tell me what kind of manuals the two of you have on the other side of coaching now have realized, look at me. I wrote that all by myself. I know I asked you a hard question. Okay, here's a manual. I'll go first. I'll start. When my first child was born, and you have people coming, family members coming to help you I had a longer recovery from my son's birth. And so I did need help. It was not easy for me to accept that help. So, in retrospect, I realized that I felt that loss of control because I couldn't physically do certain things. I was told, like, you can't lift anything more than X number of pounds. Well, my son was more than X number of pounds. So, like, I needed to have people bring him to me, lift him up for me. So, in that period of time, there were times when these amazing humans showed up in my life to help me with all the things, right? The chores, the laundry, shopping, all the things. And what would I do? I would get all up in my head because they're not doing it the way I do it. It could have been something as simple as folding a towel. And I'm like, why are you that? I only have X number of space for so many towels, and if you don't fold them this way, they're not going to fit in there. Therefore, you're doing it wrong. Why are you doing this to me? Can't you see how tired I am? All the drama that Emily was just like, all the things, right? Or loading the dishwasher. What? This is not how you load the dishwasher. You're going to have to run 2 loads of dishes because now you've loaded the dishwasher in some crazy fashion. And why? You know what
I'm not
that made
alone in the
me?
dishwasher thing, like, or the laundry. I still am like, why? Like, I don't make it a big deal. I kind of trying to learn how to laugh about it. But as someone that's very spatially aware, I look in there and I'm like, who did this and why? Why would they have put that dish that way? It just, again, they're doing it wrong. Like, that's the thing that keeps coming up. They're doing
Mhm,
it wrong. I'm right. They're wrong. Like, that's at the basis of every manual. I'm right, they're wrong. I know how to do it right. They know how to do it wrong. If they would just do it this way, you know,
mhm,
And
I
then
would feel better.
we blame them because we feel frustrated.
yeah,
Yes, yes. This has come up on my marriage, I think, a manual sort of situation, and Andrew would be fine with me sharing this. I think it's very common in most marriages. He is by nature a fixer. So if I come to him with just wanting to talk about something, a situation, something that has been upsetting to me, something with the kids, even, right? Whatever, you name it. And he would go automatically into, well, you need to do this. You need to say that, like the action step for what I needed to do. And I would get so frustrated, but I didn't quite know why. Well, in my head, I was thinking, I just want to talk to my person about this thing. I just want him to listen to me. I just want to be heard, right? But I didn't communicate that. And so I thought, well, he's doing it wrong. So I'm not going to go to him like with these things because all he's going to do is try and fix it. So, after almost 24 years of marriage, we have worked it out where he asks, okay, I know you, I'm guessing you don't want me to fix this. So I'm just going to listen. You're right. So he's been receptive to that. But if I wouldn't have said something, if we wouldn't have had that conversation, if I wouldn't have been able to articulate, I know you're trying to fix because you love me and because you think it's helpful. I'm letting you know it wasn't helpful for what I needed in the moment. And just like stating it versus coming up with this dramatic story. He's never there for me. He doesn't, love me. He doesn't care. He thinks whatever, fill in the blank. And again, it comes down to communication. Like a lot of these manuals, these expectations are unspoken expectations.
And I want to add, even when we make a request or communicate effectively, if the other person doesn't follow the request that we made, there's another expectation. Well, I communicated, I made the request, I told you what I would like to have, and still we can't control what they do.
So
So
true.
we can
And
only
we are still working on it. And now
yeah.
we can laugh about it. He's like, wait, listen or fix, listen or fix. Like, which one is it? I'm like, I don't even know right now. I just need to talk to you, right? So yeah, but at least we can laugh about it. And I was able to let go of so much heartache or bitterness and like making him wrong or a bad husband because I didn't articulate what I needed. So we are definitely all a work in progress, and he doesn't get it right, and neither do I. That's
Mhm.
We're still human. Hello.
So you just touched on the perfect example of other people, surprise, surprise, haven't read our manuals. Well, what do you know? 5% out of the time out of 10, it's because we didn't give it to them. You just said it. It's unspoken. They don't, they don't, they don't know what they don't know. And then, as Angela just pointed out, even if they did know because we made said request, then we get frustrated because, well, I did the thing. You're not doing the thing. So now I'm going to create more drama in my head about it instead of, let me just get curious about this for a minute. Can we have this conversation again? So when I said X, I thought X would happen. So can you tell me, when I said X, what were you thinking? Because somewhere the communication needs to be just that. It needs to be mutual, constructive communication and less criticism coming from us, because our critical brain is on fire with all the drama. Again, they don't know that. They have no clue. So once we've hit the pause button and we can come at it with a respectful, constructive, not critical connection, then we can get curious about, why is it? Because that's just part of relationships. It's that drama.
Not depending on somebody else and how they show up
Mhm.
being the determining factor whether I feel okay. Another thing we've learned in coaching, like taking full responsibility for my own emotional experience with whoever, with whatever situation, and not expecting that of my husband or my kids or my friends or my parents or anyone else in my life. Nobody can carry that. That's a super unrealistic expectation. Again, also unspoken. So not only have I not told them, even if I did, that's not their responsibility, right? To make sure I'm okay, which goes back to the podcast we did on emotions, right? Like this is all intertwined. All of these tools we've learned are also intertwined and work together. And it's all about taking responsibility for ourselves and being that whole person, that true self who God made us to be, and showing up with just the best of who He made us to be.
I think it's the hardest with the kids because you spend so many years with a literal manual. Like you brush your teeth every day, you do your chores, like you do teach them and expect them, and you have consequences if they don't follow through. And then they suddenly start to push against the boundaries and find their own way of being and their own style. There's things that maybe never came up before, like, how you speak to me, and what is acceptable to me and what is not. And then they just grow into these adults, but you've been so ingrained in their lives of having these, I taught you right and wrong, it had all these expectations and things that you believed and were believing for them. And then you don't have any control over it anymore. None. And that is a hard thing to let go of for a parent, I think. It has been for me. I'll admit it. It's been difficult.
100%. Yes. And let's just, while we're being incredibly vulnerable and authentic in this conversation, let's not sugarcoat over the fact that when, especially with adult children, when they've moved out or they're adults and still at home, then this like manipulation comes into play. And we all do it. We all do it. And if you don't have kids, you're doing it with somebody in your life. It's just human nature. So I was thinking the other day, like, how are there ways that I am doing this? Like, be honest with yourself, Lisa. You're doing it. How is it being presented? So here's an example. So Sam's coming home from college for the summer. I have made it abundantly clear or I should say, my husband and I have made it abundantly clear, you will have a job for the summer. So I have that expectation that she will have a job. Part of that expectation also falls under to for us in our house under the like house rules. Like, you live in our house, we pay for the majority of all your things. We do have the following expectation. So I think there is a fine line there. So she's like, she's fine with it. She's totally on board with it. But is she making it happen in a fashion that I think should be happening? No. So in a manipulation, use that however you want to. I don't mean it in the sense of like something like super negative, but in a way of like, okay, I'm going to create a checklist for her on places she could apply to. And then I'm going to share that note with her. So it feels like I'm just encouraging her and I'm doing it gently. But if I'm being honest, she's an adult. She can figure this out for herself. She knows what is expected living at home this summer. But yeah, I still feel like I need to have control over this. I need to help her. So my brain is telling me I'm guiding and supporting her, when in actuality, I'm just being a little manipulative to be like, here's your note. And then a couple days later, oh, I see you haven't checked any boxes. How's it going? Yeah.
Yeah, that full surrender of control is so hard. You made a good point. There are times when expectations are absolutely appropriate, but how she follows through on that expectation
Right.
is the part that is better for her and better for us as moms to let go and let them figure it out. But that word control, is absolutely at the heart of this.
And
And that's hard.
she can decide to sit on her bed all summer. I mean, you know, we don't have control over it. And like you said, it's a house rule. That's where it gets tough. That is where it gets tough. I mean, am I really going to let my kid live under a bridge? No.
Yep. That's that 1000%. I agree with you, Angela, when it comes to the expectations slash manual slash agenda that we have for our children as they grow up. What I've recognized in that particular example I gave that is so fresh, like it's literally happening in real time, is that curiosity point that I made earlier. Like, how could I have handled this differently? I plan on, when she's not in the middle of finals, asking her, like, I'm just curious. Like, I recognize that I did this. I would love for you to be fully honest with me and tell me, like, how did that feel for you? Like, she could come back and say, no, actually, it was super helpful. I don't know. Or she can be like, no, actually, Mom, it was pretty annoying. I mean, I don't know the answer unless I ask the question. And I think so often in our relationships, we show up with 10 times more answers than questions.
So true. Questions are always a good idea. And that true curiosity, again, without that manipulative piece, like true curiosity coming from so much love and compassion, and also trust that they will figure it out. It probably won't be the way that we would like it to happen, or as efficiently or as productively. Letting go of that, trusting they'll figure it out, and loving and supporting them in the best way we can by showing up and not being tied to their results. I love you even if you struggle through this task, and I'm here for you. Let me know how I can help.
And I'm not frustrated about this because you're not getting a job on my timeline. I'm frustrated because I have the expectation that you should. I'm causing my own frustration.
Such a clear distinction. Well said.
I wrote down here just an example, and I think when I wrote this, I didn't even recognize how I was showing up in that example with my daughter. But I wrote down, when you start using phrases like, I'm noticing I have an expectation here, fill in the blank. So I think that is a way in which, again, we can kind of teach ourselves how to just drop the manual that we haven't shared with other people, the expectations that we haven't shared with other people. And just like you just said, like, just, okay, I'm here to support you. I'll guide you through whatever you need, but I'm going to back off and let them, like, our job was to create the foundation, right? And then they go
Well,
off and
I
live their
looking
lives in
back
different ways.
and looking back, that's how I figured some things out. My parents didn't hold my hand through a lot of that part of life. We figured it out, and that's where they get to grow, and that's where they get to discover for themselves through a little bit of failure here and there what works and what doesn't work, which is another good reason for us to let them figure it out and love and support them along the way.
So, how do you guys feel about taking this outside of the home and on a bigger conversation? Things like expectations we have of our church, people in our church, and how they should and shouldn't behave in the church, or what I expect from my government and my president and my, how much taxes I should and shouldn't pay, whatever it is. I mean, think about all the areas of our life that this is affected by. The plumber says he's going to be here at 3 o'clock and he doesn't show up. And I came home early to meet him. We have an expectation that they're going to be on time, that they're going to honor their word. And we have no control over that. The only thing we can control is how we think about it.
I think it goes back to the expectations are premeditated resentment.
Exactly.
Because I'm so grateful you brought that up, because when I was thinking about today's episode, I did think about not so much in regards to the church, though I can totally see that, but definitely in regards to our political landscape right now, right? Like the divisiveness that has happened, the division that has happened in the world over a course of time, but it is so in your face right now if you choose to be on any social media platform. And the expectations that people are literally slinging at each other without any curiosity, connection, the ability to be respectful, like any of those things that we've talked about. So, Angela, you are spot on. It is not just relationships within our day-to-day lives, but on a much broader spectrum, for sure.
Yeah.
And how much time and energy are we putting into thinking about all of that and having judgments about individuals or groups of people or government entities or whatever? If we're focused on they're all doing it wrong, right? That judgment piece. If they just did it this way, then we're not spending the time on ourselves and how we're going to show up to be able to be resilient no matter how somebody else shows up, no matter how somebody else is living their lives, or even what they say. So, where are we focusing our time and our energy? Are we focusing on what's wrong and bad and needs to be fixed? Or are we focusing on becoming whole and emotionally stable and showing up with so much love and compassion? I feel like that's what's going to move the needle, even on a bigger, society kind of spectrum. The more of us that individually take responsibility for our own emotional experience, show up in a way that has a ripple effect. Maybe, maybe not. Some people are going to stay angry and frustrated and spiral out in how the world is just completely wrong. But if I'm showing up grounded, then that's not going to rattle me, right? And that, I think, that'll just have a ripple effect, like spreading more love.
Think about how many marriages would be saved if people weren't blaming their spouse for their own emotional experience. I mean, I can't even imagine. So many.
So
taking
true.
responsibility. Yeah.
And that's one thing we help other people do as coaches. Like, that's why we love this work, not only for ourselves, but to walk along somebody else that says, oh, now I'm aware that I'm showing up that way. How can I learn to be different? That's what we do as one-on-one coaches. We don't have it all figured out. But we have that awareness, and that awareness is where you start. And then you become curious, and then you see there's a different way. And then it just opens up all this possibility in your life for change and growth. And yeah, one person at a time.
I think without coaching, I am not convinced I would have had the light bulb moment, a long lasting light bulb moment, that I created this drama over and over and over again. It's not happening just to me. The circumstance is the circumstance, right? The circumstance is the fact. I can't change it. It is what it is, literally. And yet, when I continue to show up the same way each time and still feel angry or defeated or unappreciated, anxious, any of those negative thoughts that just leave me stuck in a fight or flight response, I needed coaching to recognize that that drama was my drama. I created that drama and continue to create that drama, even though I thought it was all something someone else was. It was on somebody else. It wasn't on me. I did my thing. I showed up the way I was supposed to show up. They didn't show up that way. Therefore, it's their fault. It's a bittersweet moment when you have that light bulb moment. It was for me anyway, to be like,
it is.
ooh,
For sure.
ooh, I'm being a little humbled right now. Okay. Good to know. And also,
I'm still discovering ways that I have been showing up that I could improve on. Like once you are aware of even a little bit of what we've learned, you just uncover more and more and more. And we've all seen the transformation in our own lives and in the lives of people that we interact with all the time. And that's why we stay in it. It's not necessarily, it's work, but it's not a drudgery. It's like, I don't know, it's Holy Spirit work, I think. I just think God meets us right there and then like renews our minds, right? Helps us to live more like Jesus. Like that is what we're after, trying to shed that old self, that old selfish, because that's what it is. It's selfishness. If everybody just did things my way and thought things the way I think them, right? Well, that's if we're all thinking selfishly, that's how we get into these predicaments. So it's a journey, ladies, and one I'm so happy to be on with both of you.
and one I am so happy that we have in the Marcos, where when you have that humbling moment, if you start to feel that internal guilt, shame, like I didn't get it right, what's wrong with me? And then, oh, hello, drama comes front and center again. We have each other to be like, hold up, this isn't about the shame and the guilt. This is about you being aware and acknowledging it and accepting it for right where it is and for what it is. And then you get to move forward. And that, my friends, is the beauty of just hanging out here in the lounge. Like we want to remind everyone always, there is no judgment here. We're all going to show up and we're not going to get it right, even as coaches, maybe even sometimes, especially as coaches, because I get all up in my head with my own coach speak sometimes that it's really loud and I need other people to hook, line, and sinker me and rein me back in.
You're not alone.
So I'm going to end today with a Donald Miller quote. When you stop expecting people to be perfect, you can like them for who they are. And I just want to add that goes for you too. When you can stop expecting yourself to be perfect, you can like yourself exactly where you are. So that is all the time we have today, ladies. I will see you, ladies, in the Marcos. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today in the Life Coach Lounge. And as always, if something resonated with you, we would be honored if you would hit the subscribe button and share this episode with someone who might need to hear it too. You can connect with us on Instagram at Life Coach Lounge, where we will continue to support each other between the episodes. So ladies, I'm sure we will continue this conversation in the Marcos. And for everyone else, we'll see you next time.
See ya. See you next time.